All right, let's go.
Success in creating artificial intelligence could be the biggest event in the history of our civilization. But it could also be the last, unless we learn how to avoid the risks. Perhaps with the tools of this new technological revolution, we will be able to undo some of the damage done to the natural world by the last one, industrialization.
Unfortunately, it might also be the last, unless we learn how to avoid the risks.
Stephen Hawking.
You trust a computer with handling your most sensitive information.
It's almost impossible to avoid running your credit card or identity documents through a computer at least once.
It's row upon row upon row of machines, all working together to provide the services that make Google function.
But what if a computer was doing much more than that?
What if it were writing the news that you read, the TV shows you watch, and responding to all your complaints through a chatbot? What if your sickness was diagnosed by a program? Would you trust it then? Well, we could soon find out. Every sector of work is on the brink of being engulfed by the enormous power of artificial intelligence, and ChatGPT is the first warning shot.
What would you like to know?
Whatever comes into your head.
Well,
The fear of technology is nothing new. For more than a century now, writers, experts, and researchers have been predicting the rise of machines. It's been a staple of science fiction, robots turning evil or human labor disappearing as tasks are replaced by automation. Now these warnings don't seem so far-fetched.
You're made of electronics, and that's better.
I want to learn to understand people better.
And we have sleepwalked into it. We are all comfortable using Uber, TikTok, and Netflix. But behind each of them are powerful algorithms anticipating your next move.
It recommends titles for each viewer, including through those famous, super granular categories like...
From booking a taxi to watching a movie, companies can predict better than ever what you are about to do and how much you are willing to pay. But ChatGPT is a game changer, and it goes far beyond predicting our habits. It could finally overtake human supremacy, not just in the power of calculation, but in the ability to produce human-like content. From writing, art, and presentations to coding and accounting, nothing is safe.
ChatGPT is inching us closer to a machine that truly thinks. And it's the end of life as we know it. This is a new frontier that nobody is really, truly ready for. You've probably heard a thing or two about artificial intelligence.
But whatever capabilities you've heard, double them. AI is set to redefine everything about our world, our work, our consumption, our interactions, and even the way we think. And it will be the third revolution in the last 3 centuries. Starting with Newcomen's steam engine in 1712 through to the harnessing of electricity more than a century later, mechanical power replaced almost all routine manual tasks as part of the Industrial Revolution. And technology hasn't stopped pushing forward since. Next, it was a digital revolution with the invention of computers, starting out with huge contraptions that filled rooms in the 1950s, until the microprocessor allowed for personal computers in the 1970s.
In about 1966, I asked Professor Kilburn, why is it that whenever I open a computer science textbook, I get the American origins of computers, but the Brits are nowhere?
When IBM's Deep Blue defeated world champion Garry Kasparov in chess in 1997,
a organisé une partie d'échecs au sommet entre le champion du monde en titre, Garry Kasparov, et un superordinateur d'IBM, Deep Blue.
Face à face, 2 monstres. L'un, Kasparov, ne supporte pas la défaite. L'autre n'est pas vraiment conçu pour perdre. Cet ordinateur dispose en effet d'une base de données qui répertorie toutes les parties jouées au XXe siècle, et Kasparov a juré de lui faire mordre la poussière.
it was the first big loss in the battle of humans against machines.
The afternoon of May 11th, 1997. Game 6, the deciding game. But it's clear that the computer will reliably do what he himself would do. And he recognizes that he has already lost.
These days, we carry all that computing power with us in our pockets. But up until now, there has been one area that was considered exclusively human, and that was language. Sure, computers could do large calculations and they could now beat us at chess.
So what? The things that make us humans is the ability to express ourselves through language.
A computer couldn't produce a work of fiction, summarize and understand text, or write engaging articles, right? Language has a deep link to our identity.
Essentially, where I'm coming from, language is actually the basis of how, our awareness, or how we think.
It's what we use to understand the world around us and ourselves, and it was thought of as impossible for computers to achieve. This belief was so strong that Alan Turing, the most famous computer scientist of all time, challenged computers to pass an experiment.
There were certainly no thinking machines around at the time. He was kind of looking to the future. He was imagining 30, 50, maybe even 100 years in the future. There would then be computers that were powerful enough to be programmed to think and be intelligent. But how could you tell whether a computer really was thinking?
The experiment became known as the Turing test, or imitation game, where a human interrogator must identify which agent is a computer and which is human through a text conversation.
Blindly question both the computer and the other human in a specific subject area, and then had to discern which answers came from which. This was repeated multiple times, and if the questioner could not correctly distinguish the human's responses from the computer's more than half the time.
But even Turing thought that his test would be passed by the year 2000. It's proved a little complicated, though. The Loebner Prize, which for almost 2 decades held an annual Turing test and offered $100,000 to anyone who could pass it, hasn't been claimed yet, but we could be on the edge, and it's all thanks to deep learning. When AlphaGo defeated the world champion of the Chinese board game Go in 2016, it put deep learning on the map.
Can Lee Sedol find AlphaGo's weakness? Whoa. Is there in fact a weakness?
The game kind of turned on its axis.
Look at his face. That is not a confident face.
It's developing into a very, very dangerous fight.
Ooh, hold the phone.
DeepMind, which created AlphaGo, constructed systems that are not pre-programmed, but instead built on artificial neural networks that learn the rules and strategy of a game without specific coding.
Very, very dangerous fight.
Ooh, hold the phone. Lee has left the room.
In the end, it is about pride.
I think there's something went wrong. Yeah, it's made a mistake. He's got to pronounce a miracle.
These ideas that are driving AlphaGo are going to drive our future.
These artificial networks mimic the neural networks of human brains. They are programmed with an input and a result. Then, based on how close to the output the system's actions are, it recalibrates. The power of these systems is frightening. Deep learning programs have defeated humans in virtually every single man-made game, and have since moved on to other areas like self-driving cars, face recognition, translation, and deepfake videos. The AI revolution is not coming, it's already here.
The hardest problems in the world.
Our biggest scientific breakthrough to date has been protein folding. With AlphaFold, we used AI to solve a 50-year-old grand challenge in biology, which then enabled us to release the structure of all human proteins.
The implications are immense, from better understanding how diseases progress, how you can discover new drugs. It's endless.
The difference with this revolution is that the time between each leap in technology is becoming smaller. Gains are exponential and are hurling us faster and faster towards the technological singularity, where technology becomes so advanced that humans are unable to control it. ChatGPT is the first widely accessible tool to harness machine learning.
And the possibilities are as terrifying as they are amazing. So what exactly is ChatGPT? Is it just another artificial neural network?
Not quite. First, you have to understand the company behind it. It's the latest product from OpenAI, which is a tech startup pushing the boundaries of artificial intelligence with some big funding behind it. It was founded by Elon Musk and Sam Altman in 2015.
I think having a high bandwidth interface to the brain, like we're currently bandwidth limited. We have a digital tertiary self in the form of our email capabilities like computers, phones, applications.
Who put in a combined $1 billion to get it off the ground.
You mentioned ChatGPT earlier. I played a significant role in the creation of OpenAI.
4 years later, Microsoft gave OpenAI another $1 billion. Elon has since stepped away from the company, but its successes have only multiplied.
Imagine the wildest idea that you've ever had, and you're curious about how it might scale to something that's 100, 1,000 times bigger. This is a place where you can get to do that.
OpenAI is building the general technologies that can extend the reach of the human brain and our creativity.
Last year, OpenAI launched DALL-E 2, and it took the world by storm. For the first time, creating complex visual art, mashups, and images was accessible to everyone and possible in seconds through simple text commands.
Generative AI has been described in recent months as the most talked about tech in Silicon Valley, and OpenAI is right at the heart of it. You might have seen their other program at work, DALL-E, a text-to-image AI software that creates images based on simple written inputs.
DALL-E 2 is a new AI system from OpenAI that can take simple text descriptions like a koala dunking a basketball and turn them into photorealistic images that have never existed before.
Now, OpenAI is wowing the world with an even more impressive release, ChatGPT. It's essentially a chatbot. You can ask it a question and it will give you an answer. That sounds simple enough, but it's the way the technology works that makes it so powerful and so seamless. GPT is the latest iteration of OpenAI's GPT systems. GPT stands for Generative Pre-training, and its genesis can be traced back to 2018. Since then, it has only been getting stronger. GPT has been through 3 versions, and ChatGPT builds on all of these to create the most advanced chatbot the world has ever seen. Each version of GPT has radically increased its strength. When GPT debuted in 2018, it had 117 million parameters, which all help to structure output and define the learning process. GPT-2 upgraded to 1.2 billion parameters, before GPT-3 broke that record by jumping to 175 billion parameters. Now, according to OpenAI, GPT-4, which could come in late 2023, is predicted to have trillions of parameters. These huge volumes of data gathered through data on the internet written by humans are combined with natural language processing and reinforcement learning with human feedback to make the responses more accurate and freakishly human-like. Seriously, sometimes you can't even tell you are talking to a computer. ChatGPT was even interviewed on TV.
Hello, Jimmy.
Long time no see. You were on the show before.
It has been exactly 575 days since I last saw you.
And it was pretty convincing. Now that we've covered the technical side of ChatGPT, what can it actually be used for?
And how is it already revolutionizing the world?
The advanced technologies used by ChatGPT mean that the responses given are far more elaborate than typing a question into Google. You don't just get an answer, but you get the feeling that it was thought through just as a human would. The conversational nature makes it perfect for dozens of uses. It can provide a more sophisticated virtual assistant to help customers brainstorm ideas for content and projects, customize product suggestions more accurately, summarize large volumes of text, and create content. You can type in, create 10 topic ideas for YouTube videos, or write me a fictional story about a wizard, and instantly get back work that looks like it was written by a person.
For business owners and managers, it's a dream come true.
J'ai demandé de me rédiger 20 posts Instagram sur le lancement d'une application de voyage. Et lui, hop, ça, ce que je viens de faire, ben là, on l'a fait, ça a pris 2 minutes. Et globalement, pour rédiger quelque chose comme ça, il aurait fallu 1h30 à 2 heures.
It will radically cut down labor costs in departments of customer service and writing. Plus, it offers a cheap way to personalize the experience of customers.
Des pans entiers de métiers vont changer, pas disparaître. D'accord ? Il y a toujours des avocats et des médecins, des juges et des journalistes, mais le contenu du métier va changer.
It's not just businesses, though. ChatGPT, for the first time, puts the power of artificial intelligence in the hands of the public. This capacity has started an investment frenzy, with more than $1 billion wagered on similar projects last year alone. But before you go looking for a new job, you'll be relieved to hear that ChatGPT does have limitations. After its launch, users were quick to point out how constrained the tool is because it doesn't utilize a search engine. The answers given to questions are often wildly inaccurate. OpenAI has admitted this, stating that ChatGPT sometimes writes plausible-sounding but incorrect or nonsensical answers. The danger of this is if there are real issues at stake, like giving medical information.
And I think actually some of the same changes are going to be happening as artificial intelligence becomes more and more available to the public. We as healthcare providers are going to have to adapt to this new accessibility of knowledge to everyone.
And it falls prey to many difficult logical problems that are not intuitive. Plus, ChatGPT is not connected to the internet. That means it doesn't have a way of verifying information, especially if it concerns recent events.
What are you?
I am Assistant, a large language model trained by OpenAI. My purpose is to assist users by generating natural-sounding responses to their questions. I do not have the ability to browse the internet, so my responses are based solely on the information that I was trained on.
So, it might just not be stealing your job just yet.
Co-founder of OpenAI, Sam Altman, has downplayed the effectiveness of his creation too. He said ChatGPT is incredibly limited, but good enough at something to create a misleading impression of greatness. And one group that might already be feeling the effects of that greatness is students. Remember writing long and arduous essays in school? Well, that could be a thing of the past. With ChatGPT, teachers around the world are facing a new shortcut available to any student with an internet connection. Even though the quality of output might raise suspicion at an elementary or secondary school level, students still have a powerful tool in their hands to cut out a significant part of their research time. This is one of the problems that ChatGPT raises.
So this would be a good low-stakes creative writing assignment icebreaker. Generally, a limerick has a specific rhythm. This summer, I was a model so grand.
Software like Copyscape and Turnitin is normally used to search the internet and detect other versions of papers to recognize cheating. But with ChatGPT, the problem becomes even more difficult.
Question from a chemistry assignment one of the students we spoke to gave to me. That question already right here on the website.
Already, some government agencies have reacted. New York City schools have officially banned ChatGPT. Jenna Lyle, who is a spokesman for New York's education department, said, "While the tool may be able to provide quick and easy answers to questions, it does not build critical thinking and problem-solving skills, which are essential for academic and lifelong success." But Lyle admitted that they were still in the process of developing detection tools and methods to combat ChatGPT's use. One of the proposed solutions is to have students restate their thesis and think orally. Can you imagine having to present all of your essays live to your class? Future students might have ChatGPT to thank for that. The silver bullet may actually come from ChatGPT's creator, OpenAI, who have confirmed that they are developing software to detect when text has been generated by their system.
Unfortunately, we're just scratching the surface. Cheating in schools is the least of the world's concerns when it comes to ChatGPT. While many users play with the tool to finish homework and content, there are many others already harnessing its power for much darker uses.
Despite some commentators predicting that ChatGPT will soon be as mundane a tool as Excel, there are some worrying implications for its rise. When GPT-2 expanded on the first GPT blueprint, developers were scared of releasing it to the public.
There are societal changes that ChatGPT is going to cause or is causing. There's, I think, a big one going now about the impact of this on education, academic integrity, all of that.
They were concerned that the tool would make it easier to generate and bombard the internet with misinformation, with potentially catastrophic consequences for spreading fake news and undermining elections.
This AI can adjust footage to give people different expressions or change their age. And can you tell which of these two is a real person? AI can create faces so realistic that people can rarely tell the difference.
It was eventually available through a paid subscription service. But unlike GPT-2, ChatGPT is available to everyone, and already it's being exploited by cybercriminals. Underground hacking forums were already posting about the benefits of ChatGPT for malware. This was a concern that researchers voiced just days after ChatGPT was launched. It has the power to write code to steal files, compress them, and send them across the web. ChatGPT can be used to install backdoors, upload malware onto a victim's PC, and even create full-functioning apps.
A bank manager in Hong Kong was tricked into authorizing a $35 million transfer to cyber criminals. The way they did it, and we know because we have the court documents, they just called him up. They used deep voice technology to pretend to be the director of a company in the United Arab Emirates.
A report published by Checkpoint Research confirms exactly how ChatGPT can be used by cybercriminals. The tool successfully created a spear phishing email and automatically responds to any victims. This makes it easier than ever to create bots that appear human. If it writes like a person, then how is the average user meant to know any better? If you've ever received a suspicious message from an unknown contact, you might have brushed it aside immediately. But ChatGPT allows the scamming techniques, language, and responsiveness to become much closer to the behavior of a real person. In an article published in the journal Minds and Machines, philosophers Luciano Floridi and Massimo Ciriati predict that consumers of content will need to adjust to the idea of not knowing if texts are human-written or AI-written. There might even be an artificial intelligence Nobel Prize in the future. According to them, chopping the cost of production for writing will lead to an explosion in the content available on the internet, both commercial content like clickbait and targeted advertising, as well as creative work like blog posts and YouTube videos. Just like the industrial and digital revolutions, the AI revolution is destined to displace workers. The question isn't if, but when. Just like Uber expanded the workforce of skilled drivers to disrupt the taxi industry, ChatGPT will do the same for a range of different sectors. Instead of a limited number of skilled writers, ChatGPT will serve as a writing assistant, multiplying the number of workers. DALL-E has given the tools for graphic design and imaging to everyone. It has upskilled millions of people and is already having an impact on the creative industry.
But in my opinion, up until now, AI's assistance with image making has largely been tool-based. Very few of those tools are going to do your entire job for you.
And it's not just jobs that will be changing. Even applying for jobs could be revolutionized. Business Insider put ChatGPT to use in writing cover letters for job applications, and some hiring managers reported that they would have followed up with the candidate. Their only complaint was that it lacked personality. But when GPT is used as a digital assistant rather than a full replacement, this personality can be injected manually.
Throw all of that out, and it's going to instantly give me back a full breakdown of a cover letter that sounds just like a, sounds just like a human. And if it doesn't sound the way we want it, we can just toss it back. So we can tell ChatGPT, like, hey, thank you, for what you gave us, but can you revise this to sound a little bit more exciting? That's what we'll do.
In a different study drafted by Stanford University researcher John J. Ney, results suggest that ChatGPT could soon replace the multi-billion-dollar industry of corporate lobbying, from writing letters for governments all the way through to drafting legislation. According to the paper, ChatGPT has a 75% accuracy rate for determining whether legislation is advantageous for a company. It may be effective, but Ney worries that relying on programs like ChatGPT for legislation may move away from the interests of citizens.
A big question is, who exactly does ChatGPT serve?
It incorporates data from human inputs, conversations, writing material, and things published on the internet. But ultimately, OpenAI controls where the data is drawn from. This is a huge power, and it could mean developing ChatGPT to serve its own interests, whatever those are. This monopoly hasn't gone unnoticed in the tech world. After it was released, OpenAI's valuation skyrocketed to $29 billion. Microsoft has already floated the idea of incorporating OpenAI's tools into its Office suite to help users generate content faster.
Where do you think Microsoft sees the value in OpenAI?
Microsoft is not willing again to lose a next revolution. If you look the last 20 years, they are very good at losing revolutions. The revolution of the internet they lost, the mobile they lost, etc. You see it in the metaverse, where with their investment of $79 billion on a competitor, they're not willing to lose. So this seems to be like this kind of innovation. They can actually use this technology in many places. Plus, they have already bet on OpenAI because they've already invested $1 billion in OpenAI in the past, and they have an exclusive right. And all the service now is being done over Azure. That is Microsoft cloud infrastructure. So there is a tight collaboration.
Microsoft snapped up exclusive rights to GPT-3 in 2020 and is considering pumping in another $10 billion of investment, and Microsoft's enthusiasm doesn't stop there. According to reports, they are proposing to integrate ChatGPT with their own Bing search engine to try to challenge Google's dominance. By 2028, the investment into artificial intelligence as a whole is expected to jump to over $400 billion. Behind many of these projects are governments engaged in an AI arms race, especially the US and China. So get ready to see more and more AI in your life. Soon it will be impossible to avoid. One thing's for sure though, ChatGPT cannot be left to its own devices. A psychological study found that GPT-3 has a much higher psychopathy score than people. That might seem normal for a bot, but the levels were even higher than other large language models.
Machine learning will allow robots to do many jobs that are currently done by humans, and this will free up people to do other things. Additionally, artificial intelligence will help us to automate tasks and processes, which will save businesses a lot of money.
If ChatGPT is the beginning of computers taking over, then we could very well be starting with a psychopath.
ChatGPT has brought the AI revolution to everyone's desktops. And what's frightening is that it's only a peek into the future.
Now it's a case of adapt or die. And it's not just a threat for writers. ChatGPT is a powerful coder, putting jobs like programming at risk too. If history is anything to go by, then ChatGPT's revolution is the start of a much bigger one. And this one will put computers in charge of many jobs that are now done by people. But in a world moving more and more towards skilled employment that requires years of education, where will humans be left when deep learning takes over?
Hopefully, if AI takes over, we can all enjoy the sweeter things in life. It can do all the hard work while we all have more time to relax. This is the most optimistic outlook to have, and I am sticking with it.